Good morning, everyone, and good evening if you are dialing in from Turkey. Welcome. Next, please. My name is Faner Engin, and I am a Senior Regional Manager at Export Development Canada. It is a great pleasure to host this event. We are very excited about this webinar, and we have a fantastic list of speakers for today. This is the first webinar of a series of 4 webinars. We wanted to start our webinar series with an overview of Turkey to provide you a better understanding of the opportunities and challenges in the market. In the following webinars, we will host some of the largest Turkish companies to provide you specific pointers and opportunities that can help you unlock the potential in the market. Next, please. I believe most of you leverage EDC's products and services to grow your business internationally, but we would like to start the webinar with a quick introduction in case some of you are not familiar with us. We will then listen to Chris Wimmer, who is the Senior Trade Commissioner in Turkey, and Mike Ward, who is the Executive Director at Canada-Turkey Business Council. Both are very experienced and knowledgeable about the market. We will then listen to presentations of 2 successful Canadian companies in the Turkish market, Murat Sarıoğlu, who is a Managing Director at Stantec, and Tunca Ataoğlu, who is a regional director at BTY, will share their stories with us. What better way to learn about the market than to hear it from companies who've been there and done that? We have a fantastic list of speakers for today. During the webinar, please post your questions at the Q&A coordinator chat section, and we will address them during the Q&A session at the very end. Great. Next, please. EDC is the official export credit agency of Canada, and it is one of the largest and most capable export credit agencies in the world. We have a very healthy balance sheet and a AAA credit rating, which are very important advantages, especially in the challenging environment that the world has been going through recently. We are a crown corporation, but we operate on commercial principle, and our job is to provide financial and insurance solutions as well as market intelligence to help you, the Canadian companies, to grow internationally. Our HQ is located in Ottawa, but we have over 30 regional offices in Canada, so we are close to wherever you may be located. If you are not a client of EDC, either through our financial products or our knowledge products, I would like to encourage you to reach out to us. Next, please. As you can see from this slide, EDC facilitated more than $100 billion worth of financing last year. In 2019 alone, EDC helped almost 17,000 Canadian companies in over 200 markets. We are truly global. So our global footprint, market knowledge, and connections in these markets are very valuable assets for Canadian companies. You can also see that we support many crucial sectors in Canada. Next, please. You can see a snapshot of 2019 at this slide. We served almost 17,000 Canadian companies last year. So I want to emphasize that you don't need to be a large cap company to work with EDC. Please do not hesitate to reach out. In fact, 86% of our clients are SMEs. If you haven't worked with EDC before, please let me know, and I would be more than happy to connect you with the right team at EDC. We are here for you. Next, please. I only have a couple of minutes to provide an introduction, so I won't be able to get into the details of our solutions. However, let me point out that we can provide financing to your international buyers to facilitate your exports. We can provide you growth capital so that you can invest in your export capabilities or international footprint. We can provide bonding solutions, insurance solutions with respect to credit, performance security, and advanced payments. Moreover, EDC's mandate has been expanded to address the challenges posed by COVID-19. And we've been working relentlessly to address the liquidity needs of Canadian companies in the recent months. We also provide knowledge products to help you make more informed decisions about your international activities. It goes without saying that financing, insurance, and knowledge are key value propositions, but connecting you with international companies is another area where EDC can help you succeed in international markets. In the following webinars, you will be hearing from some of the top Turkish holding groups, and we would be more than happy to help you connect with these companies should you feel there is a business opportunity for you. Flora Livesey, who is on the line today, is the Director of Infrastructure and Power team at our Global Trade Department, and she manages the relations in these sectors globally. Next, please. One more time, next, please. Turkey has been an important market for EDC for a very long time. As a result, we established our regional office in Turkey in 2010. It is relatively a large region. We cover 21 countries in the Eastern Mediterranean and Central Asia from Turkey. Although we cover a large region, in essence, more than 75% of our business is in the Turkish market. Next, please. You can see a snapshot of our activities in 2019, but I must note that 2019 was not a very typical year for us. Turkey had a major currency devaluation in mid-2018, in August 2018 specifically, which led to a contraction in the economy that then spilled over into 2019. In other words, 2019 may not be a true reflection of the market potential. To give you an idea, we facilitated about $2 billion in the previous year. The Turkish economy had a decent Q1 in 2020 and was bouncing back after a challenging year or so. But the COVID-19 pandemic affected Turkey, a similar situation in other countries, I suppose. Turkey has a quite young population and took some early measures to contain the pandemic, which have been very helpful. But the impact on the economy was quite significant, especially in Q2, primarily due to the lockdowns. Things started to improve in Q3 as most COVID-related restrictions and lockdowns have been lifted, but OECD expects 2.9% contraction this year, followed by a 3.9% growth in 2021. Although the economy looks like poised for growth again, it is important to note that everything depends on how the pandemic will be addressed in the coming months, both in Turkey and also in Turkey's key trading partners, especially in the European Union. Next, please. Last point before I wrap my introduction is about the breakdown of our exposure in Turkey. As you can see, we are open under all programs. However, we look for strong risk mitigants due to the impact of COVID-19 and the impact of the currency volatility. We would be more than happy to provide you market intelligence on how Turkish companies manage their FX liabilities and which ones have hard currency income, etc., so that you can make more informed decisions about your market approach. Next, please. Let's talk about the webinar series quickly, as I'm sure you're keen to hear from our awesome speakers. We'll be hosting 3 additional webinars in the following weeks. If you haven't already subscribed to the upcoming webinars, I would like to encourage you to do so. You will be hearing how these companies do business, what their pipelines look like, and how you can cooperate with them. We wanted to present you tangible steps to move forward. So hopefully the next webinars will help you position your Turkey strategy in a very tangible way. As these companies typically are active, not just in Turkey, but also in the wider region, you could also leverage Turkey as a gateway to the region as well. If you haven't already subscribed to the upcoming webinars, you can always go back to the same registration page that you used for this webinar and select the upcoming webinars that you are interested in. Great. Next, please. If I may, I would like to start by introducing Chris Wimmer. Chris is the Consul and Senior Trade Commissioner located in the Istanbul Consulate. He started his role in 2016, but he joined the Global Affairs Canada in 2008 and has a very global background. Prior to his current role, he has worked in the Latin American and Caribbean Commercial Relations Bureau, the Southeast Asian Commercial Relations Bureau, and he spent 3 years at the Canadian Embassy in Argentina and Paraguay as the Canadian Trade Commissioner. He has also worked in Africa through 3 separate NGOs that are focused on market development. He was a day trader at RBC Dominion Securities in Toronto and was also a professional blues and rock musician earlier in his career. Chris holds a BA in economics from University of Toronto, MA in development economics from Dalhousie University. He also received his certified international trade professional degree from Concordia University. I've been very fortunate to work with him over the years, and I must add that he is one of the best trade commissioners at the Global Affairs Canada. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Hammer. And I'd like to say our partnership with EDC in Turkey has been one of the highlights of working in this position because, as you know, FAMR is housed in our Consulate General in Istanbul, where I am. So working with EDC on a daily basis since 2016 has just been a fantastic opportunity. And I don't think every trade commissioner gets the opportunity to be housed in a consulate or an embassy with the EDC. So this has been fantastic. Next slide. So today I'm going to try to talk to you about some of the opportunities in Turkey and some of the challenges and where Turkey is going and where we're going as a trade commissioner service. I'm going to do a bit of an overview, not be that specific, but of course, when it's time for question period, of course, you can be more specific with your questions. Next slide, please. So first, I want to get into a little bit of who is the TCS exactly, where are we based in Turkey and across Canada, and what you could look to the Trade Commissioner Service for what kinds of support going forward. So next slide, please. So yes, the Trade Commissioner Service has obviously been around for a very long time. Actually, in some missions, the Trade Commissioner Service predates even embassies. Like when I was in Argentina, we've been in Trade Commissioner Service had been in Argentina since the 1800s. In Turkey, we have about 4 officers spread between the Istanbul and Ankara at the embassy. And we also have a support staff here. And across Canada, if you don't know already, we have regional offices in most Canadian major cities where you can look for advice on how to prepare yourself for international markets. Some of the services we provide over here when we're abroad could be giving you sort of a market assessment on the market particular to your products. We could provide you with key contacts within that market or partners that you can look to in order to advance your interests. We solve problems for people, whether your things are stuck at a port or whether you're having other issues. Of course, we can help you in that area. One thing we didn't generally do a lot of in the past is supporting people importing. Although in the last year or so during the COVID crisis, we've gotten much more into sourcing and out of Turkey. And I'll get to the medical and health and a life science sector later, but we have been sourcing a significant amount of personal protective equipment for Canada to combat the COVID crisis. So we also have been trying to serve Canada in other ways by trying to find needed materials in order to combat the crisis that we're currently experiencing. And I hope everyone is doing well and your loved ones are at this point as well. Next slide, please. So where in the world is Turkey? I mean, most of you on the call probably can figure out where it is, but it's important to think about that. It's sort of the bridge as it is between Asia and Europe. And Turkey plays such an important role in the entire region, whether that is to the MENA region and the Middle East region to the south, whether that's to Europe. And many of the other countries that are closer by, many of the European countries, understand Turkey a bit better than we do in Canada. And of course, Turkey understands a lot of European nations in the Middle East better than they understand Canada. So one of our big challenges has been raising awareness about Canadian capacity. Obviously, you know, we get outshadowed sometimes by our large neighbor to the south, but over the past 4 years, and I can say even before that, of course, we've been trying to raise that awareness about Canada and our capacities, whether that be in building or whether that be in agriculture or even as an investment market, education across the board. We've been trying to raise awareness about who Canada is and how we can work together as a partner with Turkey. But Turkey itself offers easy access to 1.5 billion people and a combined market worth about 24 trillion in GDP in Europe, MENA, and Central Asia within about a 4-hour flight radius. So, you know, oftentimes we think North America could be the center of everything, or, you know, now a lot of times we're looking towards Asia Pacific and China as a, you know, a big center of commerce. But of course, Turkey is also sort of smack dab in the middle of major economies, and it could be a hub for the region. And Turkey has become a hub for manufacturing, which I'll speak on later. But, you know, with companies like Turkish Airlines, for example, that fly to more locations than any other airline. Turkey has more missions in Africa than any other country. You can see the coverage as a hub that you could have from Turkey for those who are looking to set up perhaps a hub in the region. Turkey could be a good option for you, and a lot of other companies are considering this and invested in Turkey. Next slide, please. So just a little bit on Turkey on the numbers. I mean, it's a large population. It's a major country. I see the growth rate there from 2018, which came down a bit in 2019 to 0.9%. I think FAM already went into sort of the potential of the next coming year. Some of the investment agencies around the world have given Turkey a bit of a negative investment environment assessment as of late, and certainly their lira has deteriorated as of late. But I still think there are many opportunities in Turkey that we have to examine as Canada and look to diversify our trade, which is one of the things that Global Affairs Canada will be trying to do. And if you look to the next slide, please. You can take a look at sort of the development of our trade. And I'll say that over the last 4 or 5 years, our trade has grown quite greatly, while other countries and traditional trading partners for Turkey have either tapered off or actually started to go down in their trading relationship. And the good thing about our trade with Turkey currently is it's balanced more or less. I mean, you'll see that someone tends to win in exports depending on the year, but it's pretty balanced. So we don't see a lot of issues a lot of the times that I've been in other countries where one country's complaining that, you know, they're the loser in the bilateral trade relationship. Both countries want to trade. We almost reached $4 billion worth of trade last year. That almost doubles where we were, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, and we continue to see growth. Even in 2020, if you look at the export numbers, even during a COVID crisis, many of our products in the agricultural sector you've seen great growth in export of some commodities like lentils and wheats and other bulk materials, but also in the last few years. If you go to the next slide, please, you'll see we've also done good in some more high value products like aircrafts. Of course, it doesn't take many aircrafts to add up to that amount. But right now you're looking at a lot of sort of raw material exports to Turkey. Iron, coal, like I said, durum wheat, lentils, these sorts of things. But we are diversifying slowly towards more of more high tech, because if you would have looked at these trading numbers maybe 5-6 years ago, over half of our exports would have just been simply agricultural goods. Next slide, please. And then if you take a look at some of the things we're importing from Turkey, you get a bit of an idea of how we've grown over the years. As before, it was very much sort of textiles and agricultural goods, which are definitely still a part of the trade. You start to see some other more high value goods in the importing and exporting relationship between Canada and Turkey. And I also can say that there's been much more interest outside of the trade relationship in partnerships, in investing in Canada. And this is partially to do with the fact that Turkey's relationship with other countries like the USA or the UK or other European nations like Germany and Holland and such, that were more traditional trade partners, over the past 4 years, sometimes they've had deterioration of relations, versus in Canada, we don't have like a whole length of trade irritants between us, or things really, coming between the Canada and Turkey trading relationship or the Canada and Turkey investing relationship. So they're looking at Canada as a new option. So if you are looking for an export market, it is a very large market. It's obviously a G20 country, and they are historically some of the best traders in the world. And I know a lot of other companies out there have taken advantage of Turkey as for re-export, where they import Canadian products, process them in Turkey to deliver them onto the next market, as the cost competitiveness of manufacturing in Turkey is obviously lower than in Canada. Next slide. I couldn't really have a conversation about our commercial relationship with Turkey without speaking at least a little bit about education, because education is so important to the Canadian economy. You have to understand that every student that comes to Canada spends thousands of dollars in our economy. Right now, we're a little stuck, obviously, with COVID, so it's very difficult for students to come to Canada, but we're all hoping that that will change for the next school year. But you'll see the growth in international students. And when I speak with universities in Canada, while Canada has already reached its potential of 1% of our population being international students, well ahead of the target date, what they're looking to now is trying to diversify the students away from some of the countries like perhaps China or India that take up so much of the international student space at our universities. And they really feel that Turkish students come well prepared and really contribute to the international student body. So it's almost a story of diversification once again. And of course, as students come to Canada, many of them want to stay, many of them do stay, but others go back to Turkey as ambassadors for Canada, with ties to Canada, and that can also have very significant effects on our trade and investment relationship by having these allies in Turkey that can tell a tale of what things are like in Canada and all the advantages we have. Next slide, please. So beyond some of the things I've spoken about, as far as being a large untapped market and a growth in trade and a hub for the region and connected into other regional economies, I mean, you can also look that the ease of doing business in Turkey has actually improved over the last year, going up 10 spots since last year. The demographics are very young compared to a lot of populations. People are still having many children here. It can be a bit of a struggle for unemployment. I mean, the other side of that is that labor is quite inexpensive in Turkey. So once again, if you're looking to set up shop in Turkey to be closer to the region or take advantage of that, there is a large, young, talented, and educated population awaiting you here in Turkey. And obviously, as you'll hear from Mike Ward later, we do have some important connections between our countries, such as the Canada-Turkey Business Council, or Mike Ward will speak on. And later I'm going to speak a bit about an agreement we just signed, being the Joint Economic and Trade Committee agreement. You'll see there the FIPA and a question mark. Turkey would like to advance some more bilateral instruments between Canada and Turkey. It's just a matter of time, I feel, and an opportunity to approach some agreements at some point. It's just, as Canada, we only have so much resources we can put behind those agreements at this point, and we're concentrated at this moment in other countries. Next slide, please. So this is an important slide. I might spend a bit more time on. I'm looking at the time here and trying not to go over time. And of course, if I missed something, please let me know later on in the question period. But Turkey is a manufacturing hub. So this is part of what I want to talk about, is Turkey being an important part of the region for a number of reasons. First off, looking at Turkey as a partner in infrastructure, Turkey is very successful doing construction around the world and winning international tenders. They're less risk adverse. They're more competitive. They have great penetration into some regions that Canadians don't. So potentially partnering with Turkey to go into emerging markets, whether that be in Africa or Central Asia, Latin America even, where we may have more of an advantage, is definitely something that we try to promote. And we have seen some successes. I could give you examples of Bombardier Transportation and Yapi Merkezi building billion-dollar rail lines in Algeria, Ethiopia, and Tanzania, or other Turkish and Canadian companies working together to work on energy projects around Africa and in Central Asia. But back to the actual other way of partnership and working with Turkey as part of a greater global economy. Turkey, to some extent, is similar to some other countries like Korea or Mexico, as sort of a high-quality, low-cost manufacturer of goods. And that may have started in areas of agri-food and textiles, but it's moved beyond that. I mean, Turkey's largest industry is its automotive industry, and then that's their number one export into Europe and the world. They're the fifth largest automotive manufacturer in all of Europe. When it comes to durable goods, you call them white goods or appliances, they're the number one exporter into the EU. So you're thinking about appliances and connecting perhaps some of the Canadian technology, maybe that's artificial intelligence, IoT, big data, driverless tech into the automotive market. These are some of the things we're trying to do here as a trade team, and trying to connect Canadian technology in some of the areas that we're more renowned for into this global supply chain, as Turkey is an important manufacturer for the greater region. And that includes both EU and MENA. And that also includes the agricultural industry as well, as we try to feed into Turkey as they try to become self-sufficient in food production again. So that whether that's animal genetics or other inputs or seed technology, Canada can play a role as Turkey sort of moves up the ladder as an advanced economy and as a player in the world economy. Next slide, please. So the JETCO, the Joint Economic and Trade Committee, that was signed in June 2019 between our ministers and with the aim to increase our trade and investment between the two countries. We had our first meeting in November of last year, which went well between two deputy ministers. And here are some of the areas we worked on and some of the other areas we want to work towards the next JETCO. It looks like the next JETCO will take place in the late spring of 2021. Where once again, we'll try to connect on an overarching theme of innovation and how we can work together to innovate and create, with some sub-themes that are important to Canada, such as gender equity and the advancement of women, entrepreneurs, connecting, as I said before, our SMEs into the Turkish economy. And then, we try to work through some sectors that we see real potential between the two countries, whether that be agri-tech and connecting some of Canadian tech and smart farming and other technologies, or genetics into the agricultural market in Turkey. You see connectivity there. That was a bit of what I was speaking of before, where you talk about connected devices, connected cars. That's back to the AI, IoT, big data, driverless tech, and even smart cities. As we become a more connected economy, Canada certainly has many companies and a lot of technology in this area that Turkey can take advantage of, and also provide more exports and more service contracts for Canada. Life science and health, of course, is important, particularly during this crisis. There's going to be a lot of spending for most economies in the health sector in coming years. You're going to hear from some Canadian companies that have worked on P3 hospitals, but in other areas like medical devices, and there's a whole slide dedicated to this, so I won't spend too much time on life science, but obviously, we want to discuss how the countries and industry have responded to the COVID crisis over the last year, and try to build on our sustainability in that area going forward. Natural resource management, we have over $2 billion of mining investment in Turkey, and that is growing, and it's a strong interest for Turkey. There's also oil and gas companies, exploration companies, Canadian companies working in Turkey, and there obviously forestry is an area of collaboration, ocean technology, and a variety of things that could fall under natural resource management. But what we spend a lot of our time doing is just trying to demonstrate Canada's responsible business practices in this area, our sustainable technologies, and our green mining technologies as an example of that to Turkey, and that basically try to convince Turkey to have the most transparent and effective permitting environment for Canadian companies looking to invest in the mining sector, of which as I said, there's quite a good investment here. And there's some other areas as well, like education, defense, infrastructure partnerships, and aerospace that do present opportunities. It just depends on the market at this point, what will dictate what will be the topics of conversation for the next JetCo. Next slide, please. Wanted to throw in some of the opportunities in local infrastructure and energy projects and transportation, given the focus of EDC in Turkey. Obviously, when you look at whether you're looking at coming from the east and what China was trying to develop as far as a One Belt One Road, or whether it's even from investments from Europe into their critical infrastructure and transportation and ICT and connectivity. Turkey is obviously, right in between the two, and developing much of its infrastructure, whether it's its port, its public metro lines, its rail, its sea transportation. There are opportunities coming up in waste management, and a lot of opportunities with the city specifically in Turkey as well, whether that be Istanbul, Ankara, or some of the other large cities. I urge you to take a look at some of the projects and tenders that will be coming up in Turkey, but I'm just listing a few of them off here for your knowledge. You can go to the next slide, please. So Turkey is a net energy importer. So in the past, we've seen some interesting tariff structures to attract investment in the energy field. But there's always the struggle of a local content restriction for companies that win the tenders, or local manufacturing. But if your company does have an interest, particularly in partnering with a Turkish company, Turkey has to look for new ways to supplement their large energy needs, and to provide services to a growing population. So there'll be a lot of the forefront that we're investigating and trying to communicate the best we can to clients out there. A couple of years ago, we had the Canada-Turkey Infrastructure and Energy Forum in 2018. We brought together a lot of Turkish and Canadian companies to discuss partnerships in infrastructure and energy areas. And as I said, there are some international partnerships that have been working in third markets, which is very interesting work that I think we can build on as the emerging markets need to develop their own infrastructure and energy. And Turkey having such a competitive advantage and expertise in the construction industry. Next slide, please. I'm trying to run through these quickly because I know I have about a 15-minute window here, but you know, to speak a bit about healthcare once again, as there are opportunities, it's been going to be a bit of a difficult time ahead for the life science sector because of all the evident reasons of cost and you know, the health challenges. But if you look to the future, hospitals will be looking for to increase their efficiency. Turkey was already expanding their hospital network in Turkey. I see a lot of interest from medical device companies looking at Turkey as well to supply those hospitals and private institutes. Turkey is a hub for medical tourism, and tourism as a general sector is extremely important to Turkey, but the medical tourism is a growing sector that requires not only you know, technology and medical equipment from other countries, but also sometimes even certifications from Canadian certifiers in order to attract new clients from Western nations. Elderly care will obviously grow as a sector in Turkey with the aging population. Although it's a young country, more women are going to work, and there's less time to look after the elderly at home. And of course, we're looking towards working with Turkey in certain areas of research and development. Turkey is itself looking towards developing a local COVID-19 vaccine. So there's a strong interest in Turkey in working with Canadian technology in the healthcare sector as they understand you know, our expertise at this point and how they could learn from us. So if any companies are looking in this area, we'd be happy to serve you as well. Next sector. I'm sorry, next slide. If you're not aware already of the Can Export program at Global Affairs Canada, I urge you to take a look. It's quite a lot of support that can be for companies looking to approach a new market. It's obviously aimed to support our SMEs, and there are sort of ceilings on the types of companies and the size of companies that can apply for this sort of funding. But combined with our Trade Commissioner service abroad, this is sort of be an instrumental program to help us to our objective of increasing overseas exports by 50% by 2025 is one of our goals. And we help basically support companies with some of their costs to come to the market. Up to 75% of your costs could be supported by Can Export. So I urge you to take a look at the Can Export program if you're an SME looking to come into the Turkish market. If you're an association, there are a number of either grants or support that can be given for you to come into the new market. So that's it from me, but I will say, you can go to the next slide. You're welcome to contact our team at any time. There's a Trade Commissioner website there for you where you can access what trade teams are around the world and who cover which sectors and specifically what officers to connect with. So we're quite transparent on how to get a hold of us. But in closing, I just want to say that Turkey represents a large opportunity for Canada. I've worked all across the globe, as Famer noted, and I've been in a lot of countries. And I think a lot of times Turkey's PR in Canada gets a pretty hard reputation. Once people come to Istanbul, when you're able to, or to other parts of Turkey, and you see what kind of developed economy you're dealing with, and high technology in the sectors, very approachable people. I'm sure you'll become a big fan of Turkey as well. But do try to understand that part of the PR problem in Turkey is a lack of awareness that we have being so far away. But with almost daily flights to Canada, to Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver last year, I mean, of course, during COVID, this has changed slightly. But as the years go by, please come visit Turkey and visit the market. And in the interim, we're happy to set up webinars and virtual B2Bs for you if needed. So thank you very much for your time.
I would like to thank Chris for his presentation and introduce Mike Ward. Mike has been the Executive Director of Canada-Turkey Business Council since 2013. He has extensive public and private sector experience in the areas of international commerce, trade policy, and political affairs. His international work includes a career in Canada's Foreign Service, with senior assignments at Canadian embassies and consulates in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Poland, Ukraine, the United States, and Thailand. More recently, he's worked closely with Canadian firms and organizations in the energy, mining, ICT, healthcare, aerospace, defense, and education sectors to identify and develop new international business potential. He has also authored numerous reports, refereed journals, academic papers, and been a speaker in Canada and abroad on key panels at major conferences, at industry roundtables, podcasts, webinars, and at public policy forums on topics related to the changing geopolitical landscape in Central and Eastern Europe, Canadian and international energy security issues, CSR, global trade, and strategies tailored to international business expansion. It is a great pleasure to host him today. I think we're a bit over time, but Mike, the floor is yours.
Noted. Thank you very much, Famer. Hello, everyone. I'm very grateful to the EDC team and the Famer Engin in particular for organizing this series of business webinars on Turkey. Next slide, please. I thought it might be useful to start off by giving you a brief overview of the Canada-Turkey Business Council. We were established nearly 20 years ago to promote increased Canadian exports and investment into Turkey and to third country markets. We also promote Turkish trade and investment into Canada. Over the years, we have, among other things, collaborated with influential Turkish counterpart organizations on major conferences and trade missions. We have helped to resolve market access issues in both countries, and we have supported policies designed to foster stronger bilateral commercial activity. And in case you're wondering, there's no question we have been keeping busy during the pandemic. As confirmed by the number of registrations for this EDC webinar series, there is very strong Canadian business interest in Turkey. Next slide, please. My intention today is to build on Chris's comments and provide you with some background on why more Canadian firms should be looking to Turkey to pursue new trade and investment opportunities. To back up this assertion, I'm going to review some key milestones in the bilateral commercial relationship that have made it much easier for Canadian firms to do business in Turkey over the past 11 or so years. And then in a quote, don't just take my word for it, unquote approach, I'm going to present a snapshot of how other countries and organizations see trade and investment potential with Turkey. On that, we should all be encouraged and motivated by their forays into the market and by their commitment to remain in Turkey even during these challenging economic times. Along the way, I will mention a potential shift in supply chains to Turkey and some of the key sectors of opportunity in Turkey. But, and I think based on what you've heard from Chris, you can take my word on this, Turkey offers commercial potential for Canadian firms across virtually every sector. Next slide, please. The CTBC views 2019 as a watershed year in the Canada-Turkey bilateral commercial relationship. To provide a bit of context, 2019 capped a decade of other useful initiatives, all aimed at building stronger trade and investment between the two countries. As seen on the slide, These earlier milestones include, among other things, the opening of Canadian and Turkish consulates in our respective countries, the launching of direct flights between Turkey and Canada, making it all the more easier for business representatives to travel between the two countries, and the negotiation of a double taxation agreement. So what, you might ask, made 2019 so impressive? Well, as far as the CTBC is concerned, it was the convergence of four major occurrences. First, there was continued and substantial annual growth for Canadian exports to Turkey last year. Second, we hosted a major business conference in Toronto that attracted a huge Canadian business audience. Third, in 2019, we recruited the largest ever Canadian trade mission to visit Turkey. And finally, the proverbial icing on the cake, and as Chris mentioned, was that last year we started the first meeting of the Canada-Turkey Joint Economic and Trade Committee, or JETCO. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at these one at a time, starting briefly with Canadian exports, which Chris has touched on earlier. In the 5-year period ending in December, Canadian exports to Turkey increased by nearly 45% to reach 1.6 billion. Now that's a high water mark for sure in our annual shipments to the country. To put this into context for you, had Turkey been a member of the EU last year, it would have been our 7th largest export market to that group of countries. And more generally, I can pretty well guarantee that absent COVID-19, 2020 would have represented another record year for Canadian shipments to Turkey. Regarding business conference activity in 2019, of the 8 major events we coordinated in Canada, a conference in Toronto we co-hosted with our Turkish partner DAKE attracted over 300 Canadian business representatives. It was the best attended and most successful Turkey business event held in Canada so far. Also last year, we recruited the largest Canadian trade mission to ever visit Turkey with over 60 participants representing a range of key sectors. A good portion of those participants were in the healthcare and life sciences sector. And for many of our delegates, it was their first visit to Turkey. A number of participants were so impressed with commercial prospects identified during that trip that they made return visits before COVID-19 hit, and a few others have even visited during the pandemic. And had it not been for the pandemic, we would have undertaken a major business mission to Turkey this past July in partnership with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, the City of Toronto, and various municipal boards of trade. In the meantime, and until face-to-face trade missions resume, we're taking full advantage of e-conferences and webinars such as this to continue to promote increased business with Turkey. As for the JETCO, it brings senior government officials together with key industry representatives to shine a very strong and high-profile light on commercial opportunities in both countries. If history is any guide, I'm pretty confident the JETCO will, all things being equal, serve to significantly boost Canadian commercial activity with Turkey. As a reference point, when Turkey and the United States launched a version of a JETCO during the Obama administration, the US commercial footprint in Turkey increased by more than 20% across sectors over the next half dozen or so years. And with the JETCO now in place, CTBC members are hopeful the two sides will move forward on negotiations for an eventual free trade agreement that will further enhance two-way commercial activity. Next slide, please. The increasing awareness by Canadian firms and policymakers about Turkey's tremendous commercial potential mirrors to a large extent what international firms and organizations have known for a long time. As I just mentioned, US firms in a range of sectors have significantly deepened their ties with Turkey in recent years. I thought you might be interested in how the general manager of one such firm, Boeing, views the market over the long term. You can see his remarks in the slide. And it's not just firms in the United States that recognize the commercial potential of Turkey. Here's what the chair of the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey said just 2 years ago about the attraction for UK firms. You will note the reference to strong UK exports to Turkey and to growing investment potential. With Britain exiting the EU, you can bet that further developing its commercial relationship with Turkey is an even higher priority now for the British government than it was 2 years ago. Next slide, please. And if we look at the EU, the commercial relationship is especially close and deep. Indeed, the EU is by far Turkey's largest trading partner. Pre-COVID-19, bilateral trade between Turkey and the EU tripled in the previous 25 years, reaching more than $175 billion. The The EU has also been a main source of foreign direct investment into Turkey. In fact, EU investors are responsible for about half of the Turkish companies established with foreign capital. European companies have invested heavily in such key Turkish sectors as automotive, energy, telecommunications, and financial services. So there is no question that EU countries recognize the importance of doing business with Turkey. I hope Canadian firms are taking note of this. Next slide, please. If we shift the scope beyond a country focus and look at international financial institutions and multinational firms, the positive view of Turkey still persists. According to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or EBRD, Turkey has built up a good name for itself over the past 10 to 15 years with a well-educated and well-priced workforce. It has become a big producer for the wider region and for Europe itself. EBRD investments in Turkey span a range of sectors, including renewable energy, infrastructure, technology, white goods, and agri-food. And make no mistake, the EBRD has a big stake in the country. After all, its $11 billion Turkey portfolio is the largest among the 38 countries where the bank invests. As Chris noted, another IFI, the World Bank, has ranked Turkey 33rd in its Ease of Doing Business 2020 report. For comparison purposes, Canada ranks 23rd on that list. So Turkey and Canada are very close on this metric. Next slide, please. There are certainly a long and diverse list of dozens upon dozens of leading multinational firms in Turkey, many boosting their presence in recent years. Firms identified in this slide represent just a very small fraction of the full range of multinationals operating in the country. Some of these firms are targeting the large Turkish domestic consumer market and, of course, those in third country markets. Companies such as Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Coke, Unilever, and Valent have all been active, launching greenfield investment projects aimed at increasing capacity and or new product lines for the large Turkish and neighboring consumer markets. For example, Coca-Cola has invested more than $1 billion in Turkey over the past dozen or so years, and it now operates 10 factories in the country. Equally active have been foreign firms investing in long-term national priorities. Chris mentioned the energy sector, which is a priority for the Turks. The government's focused on boosting energy diversification and reducing the country's dependence on imports. In line with this national priority, Siemens has overseen construction of a 1,000 megawatt power plant and wind turbine operation that is designed to boost wind energy production by 17%. Bosch, a major producer of white goods in Turkey and a key provider of equipment for projects such as Istanbul's Eurasia Tunnel, invested an additional $200+ million in Turkey just a few years ago. The auto industry is also a key draw for foreign investment, with Turkey keen to consolidate its position in the global auto production chain. Multinational auto firms with a substantial presence in Turkey include Renault, Toyota, Ford, Hyundai, and Canada's Magna Corporation. Just to zero in on one of these auto firms, South Korea's Hyundai is now producing both its i10 and i20 models in Turkey. Hyundai sells these vehicles in Turkey and also exports them to more than 40 countries in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. More recently, international investments into Turkey have continued during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the head of the Turkey Investment Office, there have been recent, and I quote, increasing investments in the Turkish mergers and acquisitions market from all around the world, from fintech to the gaming industry, from manufacturing to services. Significant M&A deals have been announced, unquote. In particular, the Turkey Investment Office has referred to recent investments made by German, Swiss, and Austrian firms. Next slide, please. And we are now beginning to see more firms looking to Turkey in terms of supply chain input, and not just in the automotive sector. Even before the onset of the pandemic, and for a variety of reasons, many firms have begun to rethink their heavy reliance on China. More are likely to do so now as a result of COVID-19. Certainly, the EBRD head sees Turkey as assuming a greater role in global supply chains. In his view, Turkey is one of the countries that stand to gain most from the new supply chain dynamic as a result of COVID-19. And the head of the German-Turkish Chamber of Commerce and Industry said recently that the pandemic, quote, offers Turkey a huge opportunity to reposition itself in the global supply chain. Believe me, that fellow knows what he's talking about. More than 7,000 German firms operate in Turkey. For US firms, an added incentive to source through Turkey is the ongoing trade feud between China and the United States. Just to give you one example, US-based Walmart has now shifted some of its substantial orders away from China to Turkish firms. A number of Canadian companies are also looking to shift to Turkish suppliers in sectors ranging from textiles to healthcare. And what are some of the reasons for this? Well, a list would include highly qualified labor, low wages, strict attention to quality control, proximity to a large number of major international markets, and Turkey's customs union with the EU. All of these add weight to the notion that Turkey is poised to strengthen its position in global supply chains over the foreseeable future. Next slide, please. So I hope I've convinced some of you that Turkey offers good commercial potential for Canadian firms. The necessary supports and mechanisms such as EDC financing, Canadian trade commissioners located in both Ankara and Istanbul, the JETCO agreement, and direct flights are there to encourage and facilitate strong business development. And don't forget the CTPC's role in assisting firms. More generally, you should feel assured by the fact that Turkey is already a major and growing market for Canadian companies. And there is the strong endorsement of the Turkish market by respected international firms and organizations, including those looking to shift global supply chains to more reliable Turkish suppliers. Along with EDC and the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service in Turkey, the CTPC would be delighted to assist those interested in exploring commercial prospects in Turkey. As I mentioned earlier, there are opportunities in virtually every Turkish business sector, and those opportunities extend beyond Turkey's borders into lucrative third country markets. We hope to hear from you. Many thanks.
I would like to thank Mike Ward for his presentation and introduce Murat Sarıoğlu from Stantec. Murat Bey channels the experience he's gained over his nearly 25 years of experience in the design of water and wastewater treatment plants to lead Stantec in Turkey. He established himself as a prominent global specialist in water and wastewater reuse technologies and has completed more than 60 projects related to water and wastewater treatment and reuse in various parts of the world. He has over 20 articles published in renowned scientific journals and conference proceedings and serves in the International Water Association's Wastewater Modeling Group. Murat Bey works very closely with investors, government agencies, and private clients, and provides solutions to some of the most challenging environmental pollution problems by looking at wastewater as a viable and reusable resource. He leads the Stantec team in Turkey as the managing director. He's also an avid CrossFitter, which I should add is quite impressive. Murat Bey, the floor is yours. We are a little behind schedule. I just want to remind that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Famar Bey. I would just like to start by giving brief information about Stantec globally, and then I will continue on to give information what we have been doing in Turkey, the services and the geographical coverage. Next slide, please. Stantec is a global engineering consultancy firm based out of Edmonton, Alberta. We were founded in 1954. We have about 22,000 employees globally, and we are traded in the New York and Toronto Stock Exchange. We have about 350 locations all over the world. Next slide, please. This map shows our footprint globally. As you can see, most of our operations are concentrated in North America, but we also have a large footprint in UK, Europe, and Middle East, and also the Australian Pacific regions. We have a large client set and a large pipeline of projects in various sectors. Next slide. We are regarded and ranked as one of the top consultancy firms as per Engineering News Record. We were ranked number 8 with the top 500 global design firms in May 2020. We are actually the second rank top international water consultancy firms. So basically, our core sectors comprise of water, wastewater infrastructure, energy, buildings, and environmental services. Next slide, please. Stantec have been in Turkey since 1999. We basically started in Ankara office. However, back at that time, we did not have an entity, so basically it was just mainly project offices delivering projects from various entities around the world. But in end of 2010, 2011, the company took the decision to form a corporate office and to concentrate on energy, water, and environmental services. Our client set are mostly international financing institutions, like Mike Ward just mentioned, the World Bank, EBRD, European Investment Bank, EU, European Commission. So we basically provide our technical design consultancy services to the large investment banks. On the other hand, we're also focused on select clients in the local markets, select municipalities, water utilities, and the ministries for select projects. On top of this, we are also using our Turkey operations as a hub to access other geographic regions which are logistically very well connected to Turkey. And these are North Africa, Caucasus, Central Asia, and the Balkans, So basically, we are able to use our operations and utilize our engineers in international projects as well. Next slide, please. Basically, we follow the core Stantec sectors. So basically, they are waste management, infrastructure, energy, compliance, and auditing. Of course, water, wastewater infrastructure is one of our flagship sectors. We're doing a lot of projects in Turkey and outside Turkey. And the banking advisory services are also sits on top of our portfolio. We have been managing the large financing facilities, the credit lines of international financing institutions, and EBRD is one of them. We're providing technical assistance to these banks for their investments in Turkey. Next slide, please. With that in mind, we have opened up project offices for projects that we are conducting for our international clients. Apart from the offices in Istanbul and Ankara, we have project offices in Beirut, in Cairo, in Kyrgyz Republic, and Tajikistan. These are basically the main countries which are receiving large amount of foreign investment and funding. And just like we did in Turkey, we're advising the banks on many water, wastewater infrastructure projects and also renewable energy projects in these countries. Next slide, please. When it comes to the sectors, we serve three sectors and service offerings. One of them is energy and resources. Basically, we are mainly focused on renewable energy and energy efficiency type of projects. Mining is also a core sector, which we are liaising with our Canadian mining business group to provide services to mining clients in Turkey, and some of them, in fact, are Canadian mining companies that we serve in Turkey. Next slide, please. Environmental services, again, the same the power, oil and gas, and water power and dams are the sectors and the business functions that we provide these services. Basically, I must underline that we don't carry the function of obtaining official local environmental impact assessments for permitting. Basically, what we do is we do gap analysis and environmental social impact assessment to identify gaps with the foreign investors' environmental policies. Next. In the water sector, we have been involved in a variety type of projects, from water resources management to water conveyance, water wastewater treatment, and of course consultancy services in advising Ministry of Water and Ministry of Environment, especially with regards to climate change impacts on the water wastewater infrastructure. I must say that most of these projects that we conducted were also internationally financed. So when it comes to conducting these projects, we are seeing high competition when it comes to projects funded locally. But as Mike said, Turkey, although the international financing has declined a bit over the years, and because of the currency devaluation, the international investors are still interested in these types of projects, starting with World Bank, EBRD, EIB, and European Commission. Next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, since I'm aware of the time constraints, that's about it from my side. Just a couple of notes for those attendees. Doing business in Turkey, there are a lot of opportunities, but you know, if you want to do business in Turkey, you really need to understand the local aspects, the drivers, you really need to be focused on what you want to do in what sector. Branding is extremely important in how you are branded in front of the clients, and good quality delivery is extremely important for the potential next assignment you will get. Famerbe, I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murat Bey, for your presentation. And I would like to now introduce Tunca Ataoğlu from BTY. Tunca is a professional engineer and project manager specializing in the delivery of large-scale infrastructure projects. He has 19 years of experience as a civil engineer, project manager, and technical manager on major transit, healthcare, and industrial projects in Canada, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, Turkey, and the Middle East. He leads BTY's operations in the EMEA region as regional director and has worked on multiple projects valued at more than 10 billion euros in the EMEA over the last decade. Tunca brings detailed understanding of best practices for both engineering, risk, and construction management for major infrastructure projects. He specialized in delivering technical advisory to commercial banks and IFIs who provide financing to large infrastructure projects through alternate project delivery models such as DBFMO. His leadership has been key in the success of BTY in Turkey, and I believe he's dialing in from his office in London today. Tunca Bey, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Famer. Well, first of all, it's quite encouraging to hear from all the panel that we're all on a right path. And thanks very much for the Trade Commissioner Service and EDC for being very supportive and being present in our journey when we first established our Turkish operations. So, like having been involved with, and first-hand involved with establishing our business in Turkey after working in Canada for 10 years. Obviously, I'm hoping to provide some insights as to the realities of business in Turkey, and also give some real life examples of what kind of projects and what kind of opportunities we're facing in the market and through the market in Turkey. Yeah, so next slide, please. So a bit about BTY, and following that, I will try to speak about our experience in Turkey, and provide some examples of major infrastructure projects that we had a chance to work in Turkey and across the region through our resources in Turkey. And as an add-on, would like to also share some views as to the business in Turkey. So next slide, please. BTY, you're seeing that beautiful photo of Istanbul. We have established our offices in Ankara, in Turkey, being a close operational, hub from an engineering perspective, and also a majority of the, the sponsors, developers, contractors, who some of which have been listed in ENR Top 100, are established in Ankara. So BTY is a Canadian company established in Vancouver, British Columbia, 40 years back. And the roots of the business is technical advisory on risk management and cost management, and specifically on projects of real estate development, infrastructure development through project finance, such as the famous PPP program in Canada and across North America. So 6 years back, we established our offices in Turkey, and that was, you can actually move the slide, please. That office was one of BTY's first global endeavors in terms of establishing a fully serviced technical advisory hub. So since then, we've been involved with major projects, not only in Turkey, but in the region. And as a result of our current presence in Turkey, we have started our operations in the UK, in Ireland, in Spain, and we also have established project offices across the region, predominantly in Central Asia and Eastern Europe through some of our projects. Next slide, please. So BTY is well known for our advisory services on the project management and predominantly on construction industry, cost management, lender services, monitoring services for real estate development, commercial mixed-use, industrial plans, technical advisory on a higher scale infrastructure projects, especially when they're delivered through the alternate delivery models, and specifically construction monitoring and management. So we are a global company, but we have a boutique delivery on certain aspects, technical aspects of infrastructure projects when there is commercial banks, finance, project finance, IFIs are involved. Next slide, please. A bit about the business environment I would like to share. I think all the panel just referred to the highly experienced and skilled professional and staff base in Turkey. But I don't necessarily fully agree that it has its cost advantages. Obviously, there are some, but it's not like 1/10 of the cost or anything like that. The cost advantage there is probably within 20 to 30% of a Canadian type delivery. However, the working ethics, the hardworking people, and the motivated workforce are some of the advantages of doing business in Turkey. Another thing that every one of us addressed has been the geographical location of Turkey in the frontier markets. within a few hours of a flight, you're able to reach billions of people. And these are some of the advantages of doing business in Turkey or through Turkey. But beyond that, Turkey also presented our business with a large number of large and established project pipeline. These have been through the healthcare sector, the transportation sector, a huge manufacturing infrastructure and industrial sector, where we are able to provide specialized technical advisory services. And obviously, coming back from a engineering and infrastructure background, the contractor business in Turkey, contracting business is one of the leading sectors. And I believe, again, more than 50% of all construction in the emerging markets are completed by the Turkish contractors, who also act as developers, investors, equity shareholders, operators and managers. So there's a huge opportunity there to bring in some of the knowledge base that the Canadian companies have into these projects. So I think one main statement here to be made is also through cultural connections of Turkey with especially with Eastern Europe, the Central Asian countries, the Eastans, basically the some of which are old Turkic countries, and a bit of Middle East too. What is tried and tested in Turkey is widely accepted in these countries. So in a way, Turkey acts as a trendsetter in some ways. So some of the business presence in Turkey actually acts as a positive, as an advantage when doing business in these countries. Obviously, there are challenges. Priswimmers spoke about the economic headwinds, the vision and some of the unknowns of being in Turkey from a Canadian perspective. However, when you got in and exchange the ideas and the cultures, there's with its differences, as in any country, there obviously there's some bridges to bridge the gap and identify country risk based on the realities of the country. Next slide, please. So in Turkey, in our realities of business and our sectors, we have identified a large pipeline of projects 6 years back when we decided to move our footprint and a strong office in Turkey. So that was a decision based on a 30 billion euro pipeline of projects, which at that time seemed like a bit of a dream, bit of a vision from a Turkey realities perspective. However, I can say now that majority of these projects have actually taken place or taking place at the moment. We are speaking about a healthcare program of 19 large-scale healthcare projects, a couple of airports, not many, but one of the world's largest. Quite a pipeline on road and motorways. Just to note that although Turkey is sort of sophisticated and developed, the transportation sector is still open to large-scale investment. That is like motorways, rail, and all that, which I believe Canada has a lot to export. Obviously, bridges, tunnels. Majority of the the bridges and tunnels are around the western region of Turkey, and we are expecting again the eastern corridor of Turkey to develop further, especially and hopefully when more stability comes to the east and south neighbors of Turkey. And obviously there has been like gas, pipelines, ports, renewable energy. These have been very strong, Turkey specific. Some of the projects that our team got involved with have been the third Bosphorus Bridge, which is one of the world's largest bridges. We have been involved with the Gebze-İzmir motorway project, again, on the transportation sector. There's quite a bit of metro, underground, and municipal type work that's expected to be developed in the upcoming years. There's basically a one of the pain points, if you will, especially in urban centers, the 3 largest cities in Turkey, and they're heavily being funded through some of the IFIs, and we hope to see a lot more from EDC and Canada, being present in these type of projects and investment projects as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are basically some of the transportation projects that I just spoke about. Next slide, please. The healthcare sector has been a separate one to talk about, because Canada has had a lot to export in terms of the healthcare sector. That's not only like manufactured goods and products, but on the knowledge side, and also like two of our projects have been funded by and through EDC. Those are the Izmir and Kocaeli healthcare projects, and those are actually one of our first few projects in the Turkish market. And obviously, our services are also considered Canadian content from a developer's perspective, which adds on to the certain percentages that they would like to come to secure EDC financing. So these healthcare projects are a few that we are involved with. As a matter of fact, we are involved with 9 of these projects at the moment, and we have successfully brought the Canadian PPP experience into the market for the benefit of lenders, sponsors, and a couple of mandates with the Ministry of Health in terms of transition and planning from older hospitals to the newer hospitals as they got built. Next slide, please. I briefly mentioned why we thought, and why all the panel think that Turkey, being in Turkey, is actually useful, and Turkey is considered a hub. Through our Turkish office over the last 3 years, we have established a team of 20 plus, and also are working with close to 100 solution partners, some of which are from Canada, some of which are from Turkey, some of which are from across the region and the globe. But more importantly, we are currently delivering technical advisory services in Czech Republic, in Romania, Brașov Hospital PPP project. We're the deal advisors, providing technical feasibility and tender documentation. We are involved with renewable energy projects in Georgia. Our big Almaty Ring Road project is one of our projects. Again, a large project is for Saudi Aramco in Tanajib. We are providing life cycle advisory. We have advised pre-bid, developers in the Jerusalem LRT project, and a few others. So these are some of the key that we've been involved with. But one of the other things is that our Turkish office gave us the opportunity to expand further on our environmental and social services, which is not one of the key services of BTY. But in any case, it also brought our team, our global team, the approach on a environmental social due diligence and impact assessment type projects, where we're kind of framing a sustainable energy and sustainable resources type of a business out of the Turkish entity, and making it a global offering. Next slide, please. So a bit about the future outlook. We are seeing a lot of movements on municipal type projects, especially if the municipalities will hopefully get their hands on to more financing, more private financing. And beyond that, we mentioned the public transportation projects in metropolitan zones, urban areas, especially larger cities, the top 5. Rail modernization, a bit of privatization on the rail will definitely open up more work fronts in terms of adding new right-of-way, adding new rolling stock, and all that. Like renewable energy market is huge. There are targets set in place based on the the targets, European Union targets and the World Bank targets. So overall, it's a very active industry, very active country, looking to also export, their know-how, manufacturing, their contracting sectors across the globe. And like another thing and a final note, I guess, is that we also have been successful in cross-selling our Turkish presence for developing developer companies who are looking to invest in Canada. And we should not underestimate that will and that momentum, where obviously through the manufacturing, through the contracting business, there are quite a few equity holder companies who are looking to invest in more secure and more developed countries like Canada. And I think there's a cross-selling opportunity there, which we have already banked on and to consider. With that, I would like to thank you. If you'd like to get in touch with us, I think these slides will be shared, and you could get a hold of us through our emails, our phone numbers, or the web. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank Tunca Bey for his presentation and move to the Q&A session. If you haven't submitted your questions already, please use the Q&A coordinator chat section. Please also indicate who you are directing your questions to. We have about 5 minutes or so for the Q&A section. So if you cannot address your question today, we will get an answer and inform you after the webinar due to time limitations. So apologies for that. The first question is to you, Chris. Erhan Bey actually asked several questions, but I'm going to combine them into one. So if you could, Chris, in 1 minute, talk about your services to the Canadian companies who are in need of, who would like to have access at the ministry. At the ministries, high-level access at the ministries, how we can support them, during their sales cycle.
On what exactly you're looking for from a ministry. So if you're having problems, for example, in getting a permit, or if you need a health certificate for your export, if there's something inhibiting your export, we can obviously help by trying to speak with the ministries in order to try to accelerate anything that seems to have been lagging behind or stalled. So we can help in that manner with the ministries. Now, if it's a matter of actually communicating with the ministry, because the ministry is one of the end buyers or one of the people you want to contract with, of course, as well, we can we can deliver sort of fact sheets or whatever you to the ministry officials. So whether it's sort of like maybe the Ministry of Agriculture, you have to be more specific for exact answer, but for the ministries in Turkey can buy, whether it's the Ministry of Defense or whether it's the Ministry of Agriculture, sometimes are involved in procurement for Turkey as well, or the Ministry of Health. So if it's trying to access people in charge of procurement, we can try to provide the right contacts and a bit of context in how to capitalize on opportunities that are here. I don't know if I answered exactly what you're looking for, but
I believe so. Thank you very much, Chris. There's another question from George about the banking industry. So he asks, can you talk about the banking sector's strength? How viable are Turkish banks for letter of credit issuance? Can these be confirmed by Canadian banks? So this is for me, I believe. Turkish banks are managed very professionally and overall are healthy. I should also add that most of the top private banks are partially owned by larger international banks and should have the backing of these institutions. However, the Canadian banks may require guarantees from EDC to accept Turkish bank risk. We have significant exposure to the Turkish banking industry, and it is primarily to support trade finance instruments. It is important to note that banks have been downgraded by Moody's recently, and their NPL ratios have been going up due to issues related to COVID-19 and currency volatility, as I mentioned. But in general, the answer to your question is yes, even though EDC may play a role in the background. So I think I believe this is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much to our distinguished speakers and to everyone who is dialed in today. As we conclude this webinar, I would like to remind that we will be hosting 3 additional webinars in the following weeks. If you haven't registered for those events, you can always go back and select the events at the same registration page that you used for this webinar. We will be hosting ENCA on September 13th at 10 a.m. ENCA is one of the largest construction companies in the region with a focus on infrastructure, oil and gas, and power generation. They also have significant investments in various areas ranging from power generation to advanced manufacturing. We would be more than happy to facilitate introductions if you can identify business opportunities with them. We look forward to connecting with you next week, and I wish everyone a wonderful week. Thank you.